male-dominated industry. Much like we think, Cindy, although 75% of women in networking 75% of networkers are women. So you are in the right place. But there was a real massive unbalance, and we are all about the balance. We balance ourselves, we balance our life. There was massive, massive unbalance with what she was giving out and what she was bringing in terms of maybe respect, But I'm not going to do the presentation for you on the business side. Oh, hello. Hello. Back at 12:30, She-Preneur Collective. Welcome again. Hello. Me, MC, very expensive. Sarah Topham, I call her Topham. Sarah is going to be taking it. She really, really puts it into everyday language because it can be a bit complicated. How do you make money out of offering people oil? But she puts it in such a way that just makes it really attainable. So please welcome to the stage our speaker today, Sarah Topham.
Hi everybody. Do you know, I'm excited to talk to you guys about this because we hear a lot about this business actually being a sideline, don't we, or a side hustle, and I'm excited to talk to you about this actually being a profession that stands on its own and not just something that you can create alongside, but actually with a view to it becoming more mainstream for you, if you wish. So you heard from Zoe that my background's in law. That was the profession that I thought would give me everything that I wanted. Definitely the potential to progress, the status, the money, the lifestyle. We probably all wanted that. I think we want to go into careers that are meaningful but also give us a nice way of life, don't we? And I'd spent 7-8 years training, tens of thousands of pounds doing it. And I think the problem that we have with the education system right now is that we are taught to work really hard at school, go to university, get a great degree, go and get a fantastic job, and then everything will be okay. And everything isn't okay, is it? And for me, I sat at my desk, having got into the office at 7 and getting home at about 11 o'clock at night. So a solid 16-hour day, rinse and repeat the whole time. My contract said 9 to 5, may as well turn that one up. And I sat there thinking, is this it? This is literally it until I retire. And when you work out how much you're actually paid with those kinds of hours, it's not even worth it. So you have these prestigious professions where people think, oh my gosh, that's great, you've heard the way that Zoe introduced me. It's really not all that. And actually I came here, we're going to hear some fantastic figures that really excite me. I don't get embarrassed at all that I'm very financially motivated here. And the reason for that is I think if we can become more and have more, we can be and give more from people that need us to be more and to give more to them. So that's the motivation. And I think as women, we're almost encouraged to shy away from numbers or big figures, or that's for the guys to earn, and it absolutely isn't. So I'm excited to just share that with you today. Some figures that I'm going to go through initially with you, I think are going to be really concerning, but I also want you to think about your own career right now, the way that you make money, and whether it's a time for money swap. If you do a certain amount of hours for a certain amount of pay, if you do a certain amount of days per week for a salary every single year. Because when I was working my 16-hour days, one thing that I definitely didn't have was that magic little word called leverage. And we hear about people who are maybe authors or singers, and they get paid in a residual way. They get paid a passive income, they get paid in royalties. And what that means is they continue to get paid for work that they've previously done. Who has a job right now that does that? Because I didn't. And I used to have to bill every single 6 minutes of my day. That means every 6 minutes of a lawyer's day has to be accounted for and billed onto a file. And so there's nothing residual, there's nothing passive about it. If I stopped working for my law firm, I wasn't going to continue getting paid 6 months later, or even a day later if I quit. And so I'm going to be giving you stories like this throughout this. So I want you to be able to relate this to what you're also doing now. The average UK household disposable income is £200 per month. When I first saw that, half of me was shocked. Half of me also wasn't, because I've done a few that I did on there was actually asking people what difference financially it would make for them monthly if they could create it. And it was always £200 to £500, which I found absolutely astonishing. But actually now when I've seen these figures, it all makes sense as to why. So if you're sitting in the room as a guest, or even someone who's already involved in this business, and you're thinking, who am I going to speak to about Zinzino? How can I build my business? What's my group going to consist of? Think about people that you know who would actually love to have an extra £200 a month. Sounds crazy, but we have a vehicle to do that. Money is the number one creator of stress in the UK. You're probably not surprised about that. This is a really interesting statistic because it's not talking about just making more money. It actually talks about if they could make more money. So people don't even have the ability to make more money in their jobs. So when we look at overtime, I mean, I was doing almost an additional day's work in my law firm to what I was being paid for. There's no overtime, form that you can fill in as a lawyer, or actually in a lot of other corporate roles. You can have your salary and you've just got to get the work done. It doesn't matter how long it takes. So it's the ability to actually make more money. Unhappy or dissatisfied with their jobs, 85%. I was definitely one of them. Anyone else in here? Anyone else? Probably 85%. Okay. Quarter of UK adults have no savings at all. And what I also find really, really cool about our industry and the way that we're positioned is if you were to go back maybe 15 years, it was almost frowned upon to have a second job, wasn't it? People were always almost kind of thinking, what, does your main job not pay you enough? Or for you if you've got to get something else that's secondary. Now there's definitely a more culture of why are you consuming at home? Why are you going back and watching Netflix? Why are you not creating? Why are you not working hard to create something more for yourself and to be more? So this is really interesting for me that a quarter of adults have no savings at all, because the opportunity is everywhere for those who are looking. And not everyone is looking. Remember, a lot of people are really happy with being miserable. We laugh because it's true. 67% of UK adults are concerned about how they're going to fund themselves in later life. Now, this is also really interesting. Who finds pensions sexy? Who in here would like to have a pension of at least £2,000 a month? Keep your hand up if you'd like it to be more. So in the UK, we look at rates of things right now. Do you know how much you'd have to have in a pension pot for it to pay you £2,000 a month? You're looking upwards of £500,000. And the average person in the UK is not going to have £500,000 in a pension pot. So as part of this discussion today, it's not only talking about Zinzino and the vehicle here for it to be a profession for you or a very lucrative sideline, but this is actually really real about how people are going to fund themselves in later life, because I don't want to pay into a pension pot. I would much rather invest my time here, have a ton of fun, and also actually unlock the income as I go, rather than work really hard at a job that I hate, where I'm underpaid for, completely undervalued, just so I can then access it at 65. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So when we look at the solution, network marketing isn't just for people who want to make that £200 to £500 a month, but actually it's for people who want to also maybe dream a little bit bigger, maybe haven't actually had the ability to tap into those higher figures in their job. I want you all to ask yourself if you've got the ability to make £10,000, £15,000, £20,000 a month in your current job. Some people do, some people don't. If you've got a time for money swap, it's going to be impossible to make any more unless you have the ability to create leverage. And that's why leverage is so incredibly important. So what do we look for when we are trying to find a company that we want to work with? And these were some of the things that I asked myself. Zinzino isn't my first rodeo. It's actually my third company within direct sales. I kissed a couple of frogs before I got here. This is your first company. You are very, very blessed. They're certainly rewriting the standard for how this industry is conducting itself. But when we come to looking at the company, of course you want to have an integrous company. You want one where ethics are at the forefront of it. You want to have company owners that vision is 2 feet wide and 2 miles long, like that favourite can agree that Jacqueline did a sterling job earlier with you guys understanding that 97% of the entire world need the products that we have. It's the only blood test proven solution that we have to a need of 97% of the human population. I mean, that's just astonishing. In terms of the compensation plan, we're going to be working through the money in this session, but this does an excellent job of providing people who want to make little amounts of money in those few £100s a month, as well as supporting the people who want to make 6 or 7 figures. And I haven't seen a compensation plan do a more elegant job of doing that. I get pitched all the time by different companies. So does Shan, so does Jacqueline, so does Sue. When you're in this industry and you're talking about it and you're being bold about it, lots of other different people will be offering you what they're working with. Of course, you get a chance to have a look at those things. There isn't an opportunity that's out there that is more lucrative for the new starter and more supportive for the person who is at the higher end of this business. And in terms of the leadership, what can I say about the leadership? The leadership is so incredibly heart-led here. I was moving house last year, or the year before last, and I went to go and stay with Shan and Dave for a week. And I was still there after 3. And Dave was saying, Shan and I were just in crazy laughter every single day from the kitchen. He was like, don't leave. He was like, yes, leave. But you know, the people here are not just your business colleagues. They become your best friends. You'll meet some of the best friends that you know on the planet through this company. It's something that you decide to say yes to. So the culture, the community, it's an incredibly special space. So even if you've been invited here today, be really grateful for the person that's invited you. You know, they think enough of you and enough of your character and who you are and your soul to invite you into a community like this. I wish I'd found this years ago. So in terms of the market for our product, you know, if we were going to become or sell anything, whether it was shoes or whether it was opening a bakery or whether we were going to sell cars, we'd want to know if the product that we had, there was an offering for it, wouldn't we? That's just normal business sense, especially if you had a loan from a bank to get started. In your business plan, the bank would want to know if there are people there to buy your product. This, again, needs to be updated. I apologise, 1.5 million tests. But when I first saw this told me 2 really interesting things. First of all, I thought, well, if 500 million people a day take omega-3, it obviously doesn't work because 97% of people are in a really bad health place. But from a business point of view, I looked at this and I thought, this is wealth creation. And whenever we look at wealth creation and people that are doing particularly well, isn't one of the first thoughts of us thinking, gosh, the timing was really special for them, or I wish I knew that was in them. How many of you guys are thinking about that with Amazon shares, or Apple, or Airbnb, or Uber? You know, the list goes on. AI, we're going to get onto that. But when I looked at this, I thought, whenever a company has identified a need in society and they've brought in a solution to that need, that is wealth creation. This is what we have here. And so I don't want any of you guys in 5 or 10 years' time to be thinking, gosh, I was sitting in that room when they had only done 1.5 million tests. Now they've done, you know, 10, 20, 50 times that amount of testing. I wish I'd got on the bandwagon then. You know, the train has left the station, but it's making stops. You know, there are room for you guys to get on the train. This is just incredibly exciting. Who knows anyone in America? 99% of them, rigid cells, inflamed, brains not receiving sufficient nutrition. I mean, there's so many people here that we can help, but also there's so many people that are broke without even the ability to make money. And so that's something that we need to be aware of when we're working this business, because too many people make the mistake of coming into this business. There's a few normal mistakes, common mistakes, should I say, but there's no new mistakes. There are old people making the same old mistakes, and there are new people making the same old mistakes that we see as well. There's never any new mistakes in network marketing. And one of the old mistakes that new people make and old people make are that they come into the business thinking that they need to be a scientist, or a doctor, or a product developer, or a researcher. And if I knew I had to be that, I wouldn't be here, because I've got no interest in that. I don't particularly like science at school. And so don't think you need to come in here and know everything about the product. You don't. You need to come in here and get straight into action and understand the business Your job here is to create distribution for a company that has already laid out the best logistics in the world with the best product line. Your job here isn't to try and reinvent the wheel or understand, how we can improve balance oil or any of those other different things, because your customers don't care. And that's a lesson that you can either learn from people like me who are just telling you to save yourself the time, or you learn the hard way by your business taking longer to build because you've got too focused on the product. So in terms of the first steps and what we do, I said to mine and all that, I said, don't even teach me the compensation plan. The compensation plan is a document that will read like it's Japanese. And unless you speak Japanese, it's going to be quite difficult for you to understand. So I said, don't even teach me that, just teach me the next thing to do. Who else likes simple? I really like simple things. So I said, just teach me the next thing to do. So we have a fast start bonus of £2,200. Woohoo! Should have let that in time for Christmas. You have the ability to earn this. That's so very real for you to achieve by Christmas. Don't for a second think that you can't. So the first step is for us to attach 4 products, not 4 people, but 4 products to our account. Okay, now who's been impressed by Toya's story, by Sue's story, by Shan's story? Did you hear those ladies talk about at least 4 products? The oil, the xenobiotic, the extend, the collagen. Do we know anybody who's maybe suffering with those things that those ladies have talked about? 100%. Do you know anyone with a pulse? They need the product. They've got a 3% chance statistically of them needing it. The figures are on your side, guys. The data is very compelling. So we attach 4. So it could be 1 person on 4 products. That's absolutely fine. There's a bonus attached to that. You can see here pay points. Pay points equal €1. So there's €100 attached to just doing this. That's all you've done so far. The next thing that we're going to do, and by the way, you can keep going around and around and around this cycle if you want to. That is going to still create a residual income for you, because Zinzino drop ships all of the products out to your customers, no matter where in the world they are, as long as we ship there. And so every single time their auto ship goes out, their subscription leaves the warehouse, you receive a commission. You're able to be paid for that. But I talked about leverage before, didn't I? So if you can root your income in the success of other people, who, by the way, aren't of course working for you, they are other people who are wanting to change the financial position of themselves and that of their family, increase the lifestyle opportunities of their family. Do you think they're going to be quite motivated? I think we are. So if we root our business in helping other people to simply open up their own web shop, really easy, that's all done for them. They've got the link as soon as they enroll. Shipping products to over 100 countries in about 26 different languages on our website. We give you that website. We give you the tech. But for introducing 2 other web shops, that's another 400 pay points. So it's starting to get a bit exciting now. €100, maybe not so much, but we're getting there. We're just building now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to help those 2 people to simply do what we've done. So it's a very, very simple system. It's literally you helping 2 web shops to get up and running, and those 2 people also helping 2 web shops to be up and running. And we then turn our attention to our customers, and we simply grow it from 4 products attached to your account to 10. So when I think about our customers, because a lot of people will be thinking, well, where do you get your customers from? I started thinking about, who do I love? Who do I care about? Who do I not want to have cognitive decline? Who do I not want to have oxidative stress? Who do I not want to see eyes fail in later life? Who do I want to have joints that are able to keep them mobile for longer? Think about people that you want to not always just fix a problem. We are a holistic company. We're not here to make medical claims. This product is very effective for many health conditions. Of course it is. As Jacqueline said, when you give the body what it needs, it has a remarkable way of healing itself. But also think about keeping healthy people healthy. There are more healthy people in this room, I imagine, than really, really sick people, by the looks of you all anyway. So think about who you would like to remain healthy, and then start the conversation with them, because we're not just selling an oil and a test, we are selling a program and a solution and a way of life for someone. We're selling longevity. Those are the conversations that we're talking about. So for a team of 6 people, you may have only introduced 2 yourself, but that's duplicated, and you've got 10 products on subscription running through your account. That is worth £2,200 to you. are doing yourself a disservice if your hand isn't up. This is simple. Do you guys all know two people? Who knows two people? Yeah. Okay. Do you think you know two people who would like to make £2,200? Yes. Okay. If you don't, you need to look at changing your pension plan. So on whose efforts do you currently get paid? This is where the leverage kicks in. So when I first looked at this, and again, don't be overwhelmed by the circles. The circles simply just mean a web shop and customers that are connected to the web shop. So you come into the business, and structurally we build a left side and a right side of the business. That's what the L and the R stand for. Now the system does all of this for you, so you don't have to worry about creating a whole business plan. But what happens here is that one side of your business you're always going to share with the person who enrolled you and the person who enrolls them. And so what this means is that you might find yourself on one side of your business with additional volume in your organisation, extra customers there, extra web shops there, and you might think, where's this come from? This is amazing, this is lovely. It's not there by accident, it's because they placed that person down that one side of their business because you're sharing it with them. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but in short, it basically means that you may not have anything to do with that individual or their customers, but you're going to be earning an income on it. Does that sound good to you guys? Yeah? Was it a sleepy lunch? Okay. I'm hoping you're finding this exciting. Maybe you're just thinking. So in terms of the true scope, these are the incomes that we work with on a monthly basis. So we talked about around about this figure in terms of the pension, didn't we? You know, it's up to you how quickly you move through this scale. Some of you may not want to reach the dizzy heights of what's at the right-hand side. Some people in this room might be thinking, well, I've never had the ability to earn that. That's a little bit daunting. That's a little bit intimidating. But equally, some people will be thinking, well, now I've got the ability to, maybe I just need to grow myself a little bit more, get rid of the fear a little bit. Because I personally know not every single person, but a person at every single one of those ranks. So, and so does Shan, so does Steve, so many people in this room. So it's not just a lovely figure that we put on the screen. There are many, many people earning these figures, and actually they're very modest at each rank. Most people at these positions are earning a little bit more than that. And so think about the number that would make a difference to you, because I know in every single one of your brains, I'm going to ask you what your figure is, but we have a figure of what would be comfortable for us, and then we have a lifestyle figure, don't we? A figure of, my gosh, but what if I could earn that? Then I could do this, that, and then it gets a little bit exciting, you know, heart rate, you know, starts to go, and I hope you all get a bit excited by it. But think about what those figures are. Maybe the figure that you would need to start making to build your confidence up in yourself, in the business, in the product line, in the industry of network marketing and what that actually means. And also think about the figure that you would feel comfortable with funding yourself in later life. Because the notion of us having to work so incredibly hard until a fairly ripe age is archaic. It doesn't need to be that way. And all of you guys are in this room because there's part of you is prepared to challenge that status quo. And it was super scary for me at the beginning. The thought of what my family would think, most of them still think that I'm crazy and I need to get a proper job. Of you know what society thinks, because it's really easy to call yourself a lawyer, and it then feels like there can be a bit of a stigma when someone asks you what your profession is, and you're a network marketing professional, because they don't know what that is. And so everyone knows what a lawyer is, they all know what a doctor is, they all know what a commercial manager is, business developer, all the rest of it. Network marketing is a little bit different. It's not a franchise. You don't own the whole company. Equally, you're not employed. But it's forging a way in society that's giving you a way to work that most people have never got the ability to. When I think about what this profession has done for me, I had a back injury about 6 years ago, and it made me unable to even get up for about 5 weeks. I was waiting for an ambulance for 8 hours on the floor in London. They'd phone me, and I'd phone them and I'd say, is it any closer to being here? And they'd say, are you breathing? Even though I was on the phone to them. But yes. Are you bleeding? No. Sorry, you're just not a priority. So as I waited for 8 hours, my L4 and L5 had pinged and I couldn't get up, and I had to have rounds of morphine and da-da-da. So I was out of it. I couldn't build my business. This was with another company. Exactly the same concept. If I had still been a lawyer, in those 5 weeks I would have gone on to statutory sick pay, which is £100 and something a week. Compared to my salary, that would have been really, really tough. What happened in my network marketing business is that my team didn't stop, my organisation didn't stop, which meant that in those 5 weeks my income didn't drop, it actually grew. And these are the kind of things that we need to understand about building a business like this. Yes, the figures seem lovely, but actually, when we relate it back to everyday life and what a business like this can do for you, if you weren't able to work for 5 weeks, what would happen to your income? That's the discussion, right? So, when we look at this business, network marketing is beginning to attract maybe more higher caliber people that got it, who are switched on, who have been involved in this many, many decades. There's some been incredibly successful trailblazers in this industry. But when we look at what Zinzino has specifically, there are people who are coming into this company who never would have looked at direct sales or network marketing before. And that's because we are a publicly traded company. I don't know if Zoe mentioned that at the beginning. She said that we were up and running for 20 years, but we trade on something called the NASDAQ, which is a stock exchange. And so you are able now, as you sit here, to buy Zinzino shares. But as you move through our compensation plan, and again, we can teach you how to do that, when you hit the position of president, which you can see is a pretty nice monthly income, to say the least, you are awarded 200,000.
We can't see it from here. What does it say?
43,250 pounds.
Thank you.
A month. So when we look at getting to president, which by the way, if you know 6 people who want to hit 6 figures, it's helping 6 people get to crown and you become a president. So we break it down. It's not just one big figure for one person. It's the famous quote of Jim Rohn. Is it Jim Rohn? Or another great who says, if you simply help enough other people get what they want, you'll get everything that you want. And that's exactly how we work in this business. This isn't about what your customers can give you. It's about you being able to pour into and nourish and heal as many different people as you can connect with, but also how you can take people into living a lifestyle that they're actually proud of, where their stress goes down, where they're not constantly worried about what bill might come through the door. It's these everyday things that we need to connect with. So when that position is hit, 200,000 euros worth of shares is given to you. And each president, 300,000, you can see the rest of it. Now, as we grow, our company did 200 million euros last year. We will do even more this year. Do we know yet, Steve, what we might close
About 400.
Okay, so doubling our growth in a year. Do you guys know any other companies that are doing that? Outside of kind of big tech AI, but ones that you can actually gain access to, doubling the growth in a year. Extraordinary. So where do we think that this is going in the next 10 or 15 years? Do we think the share price is going to go up or down? Up. So if we worked really hard to even buy some shares ourselves with the additional incomes that we're all going to be earning, even if it's on the first few sections of this, not to mention if we start to get awarded the shares, what if you worked really hard for the next 3 or 4 years to get the shares awarded to you? Now you've got 2 different income streams in one opportunity. You've got the organisation building the monthly income for you, because remember, people aren't working for you, they're working for themselves, finding their own customers and so on. But you've also now got the dividends. And what the dividends are worth, again, I'm not a financial planner or advisor, I'm not here to tell you to go and get the shares necessarily, although I think you should. But can you imagine what that could be worth each year for you? Just let that marinate, because my law firm never gave me the ability to get awarded free equity. If I was going to become an equity partner, I would have to buy in myself. They were never going to give me up to 4 million euros worth of shares in the law firm. Not that I wanted to. It's interesting, because when it comes to AI, if I was still a lawyer, I'd be terrified for my job, because AI can now write contracts. If I was many different professions, actually, I'd is drawing on much, of course, data from all over the world and literally delivering it straight to you. AI teams are being made redundant because AI is taking over the job of the teams that created the AI. I mean, how bonkers is that? So think to yourself now, is your job at risk of AI? Now, AI, I think, is not something that we necessarily need to be really fearful of. We can use it massively to our advantage. And that's why sitting in this room today, yes, it's Sunday, yes, we could all be doing something else, but you're here learning about something that is almost the best kept secret out of Scandinavia. I feel like we're almost sitting in an MI5 room. Because everyone knows about us. You know, when you speak to people who heard about Syncena, everyone says, no, I'm speaking to clinics, different pathology labs, I'm speaking to doctors. We're about to enroll 46 of the highest level cardiologists from Harley Street. We're speaking to longevity clinics in the UK and all over the place. No one's heard of Syncena. In fact, I said like cardiologist who's won one of the European Doctor of the Year awards says, I know Syncena. I wish I knew that you were coming to talk to me about this because I'd actually known him for about 6 years. And he said, Sarah, I've been looking for a way to get Syncena in my clinic for a long time. I just haven't given it enough of a priority yet. You know, so there's some people who are in the know. Most people, I'd say 95% of the people that I do a Zoom call with have never even heard of this company. So unlike the other companies that you may have heard of in this industry, Forever Living Products, the Herbalife, the Amway, great companies, but the story is old. It's boring. Product line is boring. You know, you talk about this, you talk about wealth creation, you talk about shares. It's a different level of sophistication when it comes to the conversation. So I want to remind you of that. Yes, the product line is incredibly special, but you're not here to be a doctor. You're here to create distribution for yourself and for the company. So in terms of what we look for, we've covered all of these four. And the fifth one has got to be then your own personal timing. Because it took Mark and my role 3 years to bring me here. Which I'm going to kick myself for now a little bit. So if there's someone who's been following up with you and suggesting that you come and listen to this, don't give it another load of however long it's taken to bring you into this room. Jump in if it feels good for you. There's a wealth of support here, more than you could imagine. But your own personal timing's got to be right. You know, and that is everything. We don't want to be dragging anyone through treacle along this journey with us. We want willing participants who are excited and want to come on this journey with us. And what I also find really fascinating about this, when we go back to the disposable income of £200 a month, which is it saddens me because there is such a clear solution, but people just don't know about it. And that's why all you guys are here, because we need help to share this opportunity with people. But when I think about that, and I think about the cost of supplementation, who in their minds thinks that their own health is a fairly high expense with today's cost of living supplementation? So when we start a business here, or actually when we speak to customers, I say to my customers, would you like to have the ability to get your product for free? Now, what do you think they say to us? Yeah, sure, we have to do it. And so any customer, let's say they've got an oil on their auto ship, as long as they have customers that equal 4 times the value in our credit system of that oil, they only pay for the shipping, which is £3.50 a month. Now, what if they want to add a second product to their subscription? Let's say, I've heard great things about the collagen. We all want to look younger and more abundant, don't we? So let's say they want to add the collagen. Well, collagen is worth 5 credits. So as long as they can recommend our products to other friends and family members, they're not in the business, they're just a customer. But if they can recommend the value of 20 credits to other people, guess what? Their collagen is now free. That saves them a £50 a month subscription of their collagen. This is starting to get exciting now. I'm on the collagen, the Viva, the Extend, the Xenobiotic, and the oil, and then occasionally I'll get shakes and things like that. I don't pay for any of mine because the value of my customers gives me all of this for free. So as a partner, you can structure your business in such a way that the business isn't even costing you anything. My cost of doing this business is £7.50 a month. And I find that amazing. The tech isn't even given to us. So when you're talking talking to people and you're, especially when you're speaking to entrepreneurs and they've spent 100,000 starting their business or maybe even more, and you're saying actually you can create a business that's multiple six figures, 7 figures plus, and the overhead is £7.50 to ship your free bottle of cellular balancing oil. It's bad, isn't it? That's amazing. She's been in the business longer than me. So it's really about challenging the status quo. So I want to leave you with this. The time will pass anyway. Don't wake up in 12 months' time thinking, you know what, now more people are hearing about Zinzino. I wish I got started then, because one thing that will happen is that the person that you were too scared to talk to Zinzino about will end up talking to you about Zinzino. You'll think, oh my gosh, they were interested. I just wasn't brave enough to speak to them about it then. What we're working with the product line is so incredibly special. If you think about every single condition that someone may have, Jacqueline touched on it beautifully, that it's the precursor to all disease, not just some of it. I think that we have a responsibility to share this with so many people from a product standpoint, 100%, but don't be selfish from a business standpoint as well. Because in the UK, there's certainly huge figures when it comes to poverty, when it comes to people not living the lifestyle that they want, when it comes to poverty within children as well. There's a huge issue that we have right here on our doorstep in England, and I think we need to share this with as many people as we can. So appreciate you guys for listening and your time, but don't waste any more time.